but also the metaphors. Like the metaphors. I was just like, okay, because you read and you're reading like, I see where you're going. I see where you're going. Yeah, because like the metaphors are just like. It was mind-blowing. Definitely not what I expected, especially from the cover. How I heard of the book. Wow. Thabang was saying that he wrote a book, and I was like, okay, so I need to read this book, especially after Prince, told me that this is a good book. I'm like, okay, now I need to go get the book and read it. So I read the book, and I was shocked. I was really shocked. Definitely not what I expected.
For me, the title is very good. Like, it's like on the edge, corrupting virgins. And it's what the word virgin itself is very controversial. It's very, when you think of it in a feministic way, it's always why must women stay pure and men whatnot. But I think in this concept, the book outlines purity on a very broad base, and it outlines purity for both men and female. It outlines basic biblical concepts that we take for granted in the world, and we think cannot be applied, and applies them in systems that are already existing now. So for me, I can't even start with this book. So
I agree as well with what Zenani said, that the structure of the book when you read it, it was very different from what you would expect a typical book to be. Especially when each of them are talking with each other. It's not like it's just it's different, And I think as well, the title itself is it's eye-catching. Whether you want to look at it in the context of being good or being bad, you'll be like, okay, I want to read that. What's this about, So I think that is very important. I think that title that's just so mind-blowing that whether you want to think of it as good or bad, you're gonna read it anyway, And I like the fact that it says standing for truth in a jungle of opinions, and that is what you see when the truth is laid down in the beginning, and throughout the book you see the jungle and you see the opinions, and you see how the truth must be held. That's what I think. It was good.
When looking at the title, Corrupting Virgins, I was very curious, like, okay, Corrupting Virgins, I'm wondering what this book is about, but reading it, it was very interesting. It's more fairy tale kind of thing, so it's not a typical book where you just know, okay, this is what's going to happen, that's going to happen. So it was very interesting, and those aha moments, so that's what people think kind of thing.
As they all said, the title itself is catchy. The minute I saw it, I was like, should I read it or not? But, Corrupting Virgins. So I was like, but I really wanted to, find out what is in the book, because, Corrupting Virgins is just one person corrupting virgins, whatsoever. Then I got to read the book, and I was really shocked in a way. As they said, the structure and everything, and it just takes you out of this world, and you start imagining yourself as one of the characters. So it really was good to know.
Actually, to point, touching on that, the writing style for me really came out, and Thabang's gifted talent in writing came out of this book. Because if I could put it between in a shelf, the word exclusive, or in a bookstore, I'd put this book between The Great Divorce and The Pilgrim's Progress. It's got the depth of The Great Divorce and The Pilgrim's Progress, but the writing style is so unique. Yet it holds its own space in the bookshelf, and it deserves that kind of. So I was very impressed with the writing style.
And I think if you ever heard Thabang speak and you read it, you can actually hear him.
Yes.
It's very clear. No, but Thabang, it's not like you're famous, And I mean, it was so great because it didn't just give you words. You had to imagine the things that were going on. Like, you were forced. It wasn't even like he didn't even give you a choice. Like, you would have to imagine those things. And the great thing about imagination is that our imaginations are not the same.
Yes.
So whatever it is that you want to imagine based on what you're reading, it's going to be different from what somebody else is going to experience. So I think that's great because you get your own feel of it, you get your own perception, and you get your own feeling from reading that book. That was great.
I think for me also when it comes to the way he wrote the book, like the language, you know, when you read other South African books, like it's there's a difference, you know, like compare this to other South African writers. Like I wouldn't expect a South African writer to have written something like this, because like when I opened the book and I was thinking, okay, corrupting versions, I was expecting someone who's going to speak more locally, you know, like come down to like a South African way of thinking. And then I read the book and I was like, wow, this guy's imagination is not even, it's beyond the scope of South Africa itself. Like I was just like, okay, what world does he live in? Does he live in my country? Like what's happening? Like, so for me, the writing style and the language and the way he was so imaginative, I was just like, okay, but like really, is this guy South African? I had to if I didn't know Thabang, I was just be like, okay, who's this guy? You know, but yeah, so for me, the writing style and the way he just did the whole thing was just, it was great to do.
Small things like using, instead of saying mother, but saying old wife mother.
Yeah.
You know, small nuggets that make a reader feel like they also belong inside the script and inside with the characters. And like you were saying, it's a very international and universal book in itself. And like there were parts where I'd read and I'd just be so sucked and so like dragged into the coach itself, or dragged into the atmosphere that basically transported. So
like Tini said, like there are some aspects of the book where you read and it's very reflective. Like it's some things that are said in the book that are indirectly said, but then you're like, this is what he's trying to say.
But also the metaphors, like the metaphors. I was just like, okay, because you read and you're reading like, I see where you're going. Because like the metaphors are just like, you know, the whole book for me is just metaphorical. Like you can't read it and just take it just literally. Like if you just take it literally, then you miss the scope of the whole book as itself. So for me, the metaphors is just like, okay, this guy, okay, I see where he's going. I see what he's saying.